Honestly, I'm not that much of a Call of Duty fan. I would like to be. I have fond memories of playing it in the past. Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 2, Black Ops. But the settings just didn't grasp me like they used to. It kept getting boring and dull. I felt like every game was the same. Couple that with my transition to fully being a PC gamer, and Call of Duty just couldn't match up to the competition anymore. But all that being said, I was very excited to see that we got the reveal that Call of Duty, whatever next one, would be World War II again. Hooray. I'm so excited. My interest is, of course, completely tentative, as this is 2017 and this is the video game industry. But I do have high hopes for Call of Duty World War II, and I hope it is as good of a game as it can possibly be. And I hope they will cut the strings from things that have made it less than stellar in the past. And yet already, despite how little we know and how little we've actually seen, we have already seen 2 mini controversies pop. Did I say controversies again like I'm a fucking Brit? It's weird. Sometimes I'll even say advertisement. Anyway, this one's from Polygon. This is the much more well-known one. Call of Duty World War II's diversity is nothing more than marketing. A supporting cast just checks off the boxes. Now, if you could sum up Polygon as an organization in a single picture, this would probably be it. But there's another one that is much less well-known. This one is actually from PC Gamer. Don't try to sell Call of Duty to us as anti-war. Some absurd claims were made at the Call of Duty World War II reveal event. Oh boy, I'll bet it was just awful. I imagine they were very, very insensitive. I'll go into this second one first and get that one out of the way, then we'll get to Polygon. Ooh boy. Also, before we begin, something that does give me a lot of heart is the way it was received. This is the live stream in which the damning things were said. And if you look at the like and dislike bar, I have high hopes. It was received very well by the community and by its audience. And if we compare that to the live stream, or at least the reveal trailer from Infinite Warfare last year, well, it was received about as well as Counter-Strike Global Offensive tournaments would be received by the Amish. Let's look at the bits from the live stream, and then we can get some solid ground from which to proceed.
But it is very interesting to think that there's a generation of players out there who this is going to be their first kind of big media exposure to World War II, right? And that's something that you guys get to give them. So is that something that you guys as a studio have thought about a lot?
This is correct. The last time Call of Duty was set in the 1940s, as its main story, was way, way back in 2008. And few things say AAA exposure to war like Call of Duty does. For a lot of people, this will be their first foray into World War II.
Yeah, we knew there'd probably be 1-2 generations that haven't really watched Private Ryan,
a movie that came out in 1998, by the way.
And it's been 10 years since the last World War II game with Call of Duty. So that was one of the reasons why we paid real attention to getting everything right and trying to really tell the story. And as we said earlier, it's about respect.
Now, granted, let's go ahead and take everything he says with a grain of salt. And if there's anything that I remember, Call of Duty players know a lot about salt. I understand he's trying to make a game and he has to have it sell a gajillion billion copies so he can come out ahead and he doesn't lose his job. And he knows he has to fill in a lot of sales that weren't made last year with Infinite Warfare, which still has left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, myself included. I tried it for free on the Steam weekend. It was awful. But it is a World War II game, sold in majority to American audiences, and God forbid you make a World War II game that's disrespectful to the soldiers or to the cause or anything like that. They want to make this game well. They want to leave lasting impressions. Yeah, they're trying to sell copies, but I have no reason to doubt him when he says they want to put that kind of care into that kind of thing.
And so we want to make sure that they're not, if they do, when they play the game, they learn something, and what they do learn will be correct. Yeah.
I hope this is an allusion to perhaps a more realistic display of weapon mechanics or vehicle depictions or firearm designs, things of that nature. Perhaps this is a way to have him allude to the idea that the World War II game that he's making will have a lot of references and depictions of suffering and tragedy and dying and misery that accompanies war by its nature.
It's still about having fun, but get the details right.
All right, this bit here, It may sound to a lot of people like it's something that should be thrown away and it's really offhandish a remark. Oh yeah, it should still be fun, but we want to get a lot of things right. There's nothing wrong with saying this because he's 100% correct. Glenn here is hitting the nail on the head with the fucking hammer of the words he is saying in his mouth hole. That fell apart like fuck. I'm gonna edit that bit out. But he's right. The game has to be fun. Just from a business perspective, it has to be fun. And it can be fun and at the same time be realistic and be representative of a certain conflict. War games have to be fun. In one way or another, they have to have some sort of appeal, or else they won't sell and the company will not make money and the series will die.
I can tell you, though, when we started this journey almost 3 years ago, it was really wanting to tell a really impactful narrative and a story, largely to ensure that this sort of conflict doesn't happen again. And as we dove in with a military historian and got to know the veterans and really researched, it was powerful for us because not only were we telling the story so that it would never happen again, but we're telling it because the people who fought in that war aren't here to tell it for themselves.
Oh, crap. There it is. He said it. Oh, God.
Largely to ensure that this sort of conflict doesn't happen again.
I mean, look, when I listened to this, when I went back and I went to this live stream and I listened to this little bit, I thought, okay, all right, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. One of the reasons he wants to portray this game the way he wants to portray it is so that it has an anti-war message to it. This isn't new for Call of Duty. You'll remember back in the day, whenever you were playing the campaign and you died, there would be a quote that would flash up on the screen for a moment, and a lot of those quotes were anti-war. They were very pensive and thoughtful. They were very reflective. In a way, they helped to pull you out of the constant action and adrenaline that the campaign offered, arguably, of course, and kind of try to set your feet back on the ground in a weird sort of way. It was subtle, it wasn't huge, but that was kind of the attempt they went for. Future years will never know the seething hell and the black infernal background, the countless minor scenes and interiors of the Secession War. And it is best they should not. The real war will never get in the books. That was Walt Whitman. Abraham Lincoln had, "There's no honorable way to kill, no gentle way to destroy. There is nothing good in war, except its ending." Or from Barbara Kingsolver, "There's a graveyard in northern France where all the dead boys from D-Day are buried. The white crosses reach from one horizon to the other. I remember looking it over and thinking it was a forest of graves. But the rows were like this, dizzying, diagonal, perfectly straight. So after all, it wasn't a forest, but an orchard of graves. Nothing to do with nature, unless you count human nature." Franklin D. Roosevelt said, "Those who have long enjoyed such privileges as we enjoy forget in time that men have died to win them." A very appropriate thing to say these days. There was a mission in Call of Duty 4 which entailed you being in a helicopter and then subsequently being hit by the explosion of a nuclear device and then you crawling and falling out of the wreckage just so you could die. It looks ancient and archaic by today's standards, but the D-Day invasion mission in Call of Duty 2 is something that will stick with me for a while. It was my first introduction to the event. It was in a video game. And as I was young, and as I first started playing these war games, granted I did have fun, they were video games after all, it was undeniable that I felt there was an anti-war message beneath it. It wasn't explicit, but it was subtle. It was beneath the surface. Every time you died, you would be reminded that, yeah, war is terrible and war sucks. World at War did a fantastic job showing many different sides of the war as being full of monsters. It's hard in a war game to make you feel sympathy for the Nazis, but sometimes it's done well. But by Tyler Wilde, don't try to sell Call of Duty to us as anti-war. Some absurd claims were made at the Call of Duty World War II reveal event. If you believe the developers at Sledgehammer, take a big sip of coffee before continuing. The actual reason Call of Duty has returned to World War II is to prevent World War III. No, that's not why Call of Duty returned to World War II. It's because people weren't buying this new shit, and there are trends in marketing, and they're trying to sell something that people will buy. Come on. When we started this journey almost 3 years ago, it was really about wanting to tell a really impactful narrative and story, largely to ensure this sort of conflict doesn't happen again. While you squeegee the spit off your monitor, let's consider that claim. Tyler, I'm kind of shocked that you would take a statement like that and act so hyperbolic about it. They're making a Call of Duty game about World War II. World War II Call of Duty games in the past have had very, very definite anti-war parts to them. They want to have more parts like that in the new Call of Duty, and they want to focus on the narrative in single player because they believe that showing people the terrible things about war can help prevent people from wanting to go to war. Now, it's Sledgehammer Games. They're a video game studio. They probably don't have a lot of actual sway in global geopolitics and the military this and that and wars and actual fighting that goes on between countries. But they are a big, very influential name in popular media. They have the ability to influence people who play their games, especially young people. And this certainly isn't some sort of a center stage advertisement that they're doing for this game. You have to get 52 minutes into their hour-long live stream before they even start talking about this stuff. For the life of me, I have no idea why people are reacting this way to what he said in this live stream. No clue. It goes on, if Call of Duty World War II is largely about scaring its players straight on modern history, it has an odd way of showing it. The pacifist message is at odds even with the first in-game footage, which mainly glorifies, or at least maintains the idea, that World War II was a brutal but noble conflict. Hellish and awful, yes, but with visceral gameplay. Tyler, do you doubt that World War II was not a noble conflict? Terrible things happen in every war, granted, but do you not think that it was a justified war? That the goals of the war were noble? To defeat Nazism and to stop the belligerent Japanese Empire? Do you not, I mean, Hitler, invasions, holocausts, defending the liberty and the rights of your fellow man? I mean, those sound noble to me. All right. I don't think it's probably great to call into question whether or not the core idea of World War II was a noble one. I think pretty much anybody would argue that it was a justified war, and that the consequences of that war did obviously far more good than they did harm. Also, it's not a pacifist message. They're just trying to say that if they display the things in this game in a certain way, they can influence people to not want to have another war. That's not necessarily a pacifist message, because a pacifist does not fight in wars, no matter how righteous or noble or justified they are. It's just really shocking to me that people have such a bone to pick with this statement. Is Saving Private Ryan pro or anti-war? There's a lot of cool, awesome fight scenes in Saving Private Ryan, but no one would knock it for being pro-war. This is a story that's bigger than all of us, said audio director David Swenson in a mock documentary shown at the reveal. This is a whole new generation who might not have a lot of experience with this time period. I think this is a great opportunity to have them experience that and feel that. And he's right. For a lot of younger audiences, they haven't had this huge media foray into World War II. Obviously, they've learned about it in school, and they know this and that from it. But in terms of entering into a simulation of it, or playing a game about it, or watching a gritty movie about it, a lot of them haven't had that experience. And Call of Duty does infamously have a lot of very young players in it. So, there's nothing to this statement that I find unusual. This will be a lot of young people's first experience when it comes to World War II. That isn't just learning about it passively in a book or in a safe for public broadcast sort of television program. It'll be an M-rated Call of Duty game set in World War II. The article goes on, introducing a generation to the largest conflict in modern history is a lofty goal, so one can assume that how this brutal crisis is portrayed was not approached lightly. Yet through all the authenticity and grittiness, I saw little substance in the reveal. It sounds more like Activision is glad younger players haven't seen Saving Private Ryan, so it can produce precisely that. And if Saving Private Ryan was my generation's primary introduction to an education about World War II, then we must be very poorly informed, though I don't recall even Steven Spielberg making such bold claims before that film released, nor when he directed a game, Medal of Honor. Well, Tyler, you're kind of comparing apples and oranges here, aren't you? Saving Private Ryan came out in 1998. What's funny is that it came out almost a generation ago. How about that? Many consider it an old movie. It's 19 years old. It's almost a generation old. Compared to video games, back in 1998, motion pictures like Saving Private Ryan had way much more pull. But this is 2017. Video games are part and parcel of our life now. It's mainstream. There are video game ads on ESPN. Everybody either plays a game or knows a gamer or has tried them out for themselves. Everybody knows about them, at least to some degree. They're a big part of popular culture now. They're a huge part of popular culture. For a lot of people, myself included, they're the primary means of entertainment. I mean, I can't get fucked every night. Well, I mean, I guess I could, but I don't wanna. There's a lot of parallels that can be given between Saving Private Ryan and Call of Duty World War II. A lot. Remember, it's been 9 years since the last Call of Duty World War II game. Now, the article goes on to say it's also uncomfortable to hear a developer praise the cultural impact of its game before it's even released. Players, not Activision, will decide what the game accomplishes. All right, I don't know why you're bringing Activision into this. This is a guy from Sledgehammer who said this stuff, all right? To be clear, I don't object because Call of Duty World War II is a game, and I'm a stodgy grump who believes games can't be subversive or educational or lead us to new ideas and interests. They definitely can, and I love them for it. It's because I'm not buying for a second that Call of Duty is really interested in much more than action drama, which would be fine. And Call of Duty is an action drama genre. But Tyler, the second part of action drama is drama. Where do you think the drama comes from? Spraying down Nazis with machine guns is not drama. Watching a soldier die from gunshot wounds is drama. Trying to rescue a soldier trapped behind enemy lines is drama. Showing the brutality and the awfulness that accompanies war, that's drama, Tyler. So if you're fine with the game being an action drama series, well, then why do you have a problem with this? You want to know where the first time... Okay, let's go back just a little bit. He said, if Call of Duty World War II causes any of its players to further investigate fascism, war, and genocide, then I will be glad. But it's hard to take such a goal seriously from the series that coined the word killstreak, invited you to drop an atomic bomb on your opponents as a reward, and famously reduced mourning to a button tap. Tyler, do you want to know where the first place was that I heard fascism? The first time I ever heard fascism as a term that I remember, it was in Call of Duty 2, the opening mission where you play as the Russians. Kill those fascists, the Russians would say. And so, of course, because I didn't have ubiquitous internet access like I do today, if I wanted a question solved, I went to Daddy. Not that kind of daddy. My biological father. He could always teach me a thing or two. He knew everything. And so, thereby, it was through Call of Duty 2 that I learned about fascism, and thereby learned more about the Nazis. Call of Duty 2, for me, because it was my first foray into an interactive World War II experience, educated me about how shit it was. Wait, the Russians fought the Germans, not just the Americans? How come there's snow everywhere? What's Stalingrad? Is that around these days? Look at all these terrible things happening. Who were the Nazis? What did they do? How come they were bad? Everyone knew they were bad, but why? It seems stupid to some people, but this was an actual experience that I had, and it's one that others have too. If something is your first introduction to a subject, it will leave a lot of questions in an inquisitive mind. Also, it's very clear that the tone of the multiplayer and the single player is completely different, so why you would conflate those two, I don't know. But it was very clear when I played this game that war was not something that I wanted to be a part of. I didn't want to go to war. Yeah, we have these little fantasies and romanticizations inside of our head, and yeah, we have those, but that doesn't mean we want them to be reality. Just because we fantasize about something does not mean we want it to be real. Young minds are impressionable, but they also are not necessarily stupid. That's why I could play Call of Duty 2, and I didn't play the multiplayer. When I first played it, it was on an old crappy laptop my grandmother had. We didn't have any internet connection because she lived out in the boonies, because this is, after all, Arkansas. But I was able to play Call of Duty 2 single player and enjoy it, and at the same time understand that all this stuff actually happening must have been awful. The article goes on. According to Condry, Call of Duty World War II is Sledgehammer's chance to tell the epic, gritty, visceral story of the world's greatest conflict. but it's also authentic, a term, by the way, used to describe every other Call of Duty game, no matter how far-flung the fiction, and yet I never recall my grandfather referring to the war as epic or gritty or visceral. Even though, Tyler, that doesn't mean it was not epic, gritty, and visceral. His explicit terminology does not probably change what it really was. Was World War II not gritty? Was it not visceral? Was it not an epic conflict? Do you doubt these things, Tyler? I certainly hope you do not. My guess is that Condrey is hinting that Call of Duty World War II will include one or two of the series' controversial scenes, such as Modern Warfare 2's No Russian mission, or inclusion of Manuel Noriega in Black Ops 2. The shock of these scenes has sparked discussion, debate, and weird lawsuits. But compartmentalizing tragedy into a single level or story beat is a different thing than setting out to present the history of World War II, its atrocities and violence and crimes, and the economic, political, and ideological forces that carved it into history as the mold for our violent modern world. First off, Tyler, our modern world is actually not very violent at all. It's actually an extremely peaceful time for humanity, thanks to the sacrifices, in part, of men like the ones who fought in World War II, I might add. A great deal of the peace that we enjoy today is because of the sacrifices those men gave in the conflict of World War II. Even though at the end you say it's atrocities and violence and crimes and the economic, political, and ideological forces that carved it into history as the mold for our violent modern world. Tyler, the result of World War II, if anything else, was a mold for our peaceful modern world, our secure modern world. Tyler, did this grandfather of yours, would you look him in the eye and say that his actions, the result of World War II, is what set the mold for our modern world, at least the negative aspects of it? I'm sensing this pattern here, and forgive me if I'm reading this the wrong way, but earlier on you questioned the nobility of the conflict that is World War II. Oh, fair enough. I can understand where you're coming from, I guess, if I really stretch it. But you're saying that the results of this conflict were the mold for our violent modern world. As opposed to what, Tyler? I'm just getting some strange vibes about how you exactly view World War II, Tyler. You talk about compartmentalizing tragedy, and that's what we do, Tyler. That's what humans do. That's what the soldiers do. You have to compartmentalize things so you don't go insane. It's possible to have the action and the nobility and the heroism over here, and it's also possible in the same war to have the atrocities and the genocide and the death and the suffering over here. They can exist side by side and not cancel each other out. That's what we do with pretty much every fantasy that we have. Not only is it a kick-ass game, but because they spent so much time making this historically accurate, it's going to expose the whole World War II story to a whole new generation, said actor Josh Duhamel during the live stream, and I'm really honored to be part of this game for that reason. And to be honest, I would be too. I mean, that would be something that would make me sort of proud, and I would feel good about that. You know, being part of that exposition to so many people. It's important for people to never forget World War II and what happened, if anything else, to keep it in their minds. And video games as popular media is a fantastic way to do that because of the nature of a war. It could be put and translated into a video game very easily. It goes on, lots of people are writing articles about that at the moment, saying that this is how we get our history now. It's through this, added host OJ Borg. There's almost more empathy when you're fighting through an interactive character. And for some people, I'm certain that's true. I mean, I was really pulled into a lot of the games that I've played. Soma, Witcher, BioShock, Dishonored. A lot of games do a really good job at pulling you in and making you feel connected to the characters. And in first-person games especially, you're seeing things through their eyes. It's easier for a lot of people. But Tyler says, I'll mostly ignore the claim that we now learn history through blockbuster FPSs. Do we really? Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously it isn't the bulk of our education about historical events. But when we're put into a series or a setting that we don't know much about, a lot of the times it makes us inquisitive. You think Forgotten Weapons, the channel on YouTube, is enjoying the big bump they got from looking at all the World War I videos that they did and seeing all the World War I weapons in Battlefield 1? I bet they are. I know that I went through a lot of Forgotten Weapons videos trying to figure out the Shoshat machine gun. What's that about? The RSC 1917. What's that about? The Madsen LMG. Never heard about it before. Let's learn about it. I didn't know all that much about World War I, and then Battlefield 1 comes out, and now I'm a lot more knowledgeable. I read the codex entries, I watched videos about the history of it, I read Wikipedia articles. In a lot of ways, it's not that these things necessarily teach us the actual history, but they give us an interest in wanting to learn more ourselves. Maybe a lot of people are just more inquisitive than you are, Tyler. He says, I wholeheartedly reject the idea that Call of Duty generates empathy, and I think its goal should be to generate empathy. Well, why not? Tyler, you said you were fine with a game being an action drama. Empathy is drama. I felt a lot of empathy across the Call of Duty campaigns with some characters. Characters like Soap McTavish, getting nuked, the No Russian mission, of course. There's a lot of different parts in these games that, yeah, you can absolutely feel empathy towards people. Even the bad guys. I felt some empathy for Kevin Spacey in Advanced Warfare. I think we all feel a little empathy for Viktor Reznov from World at War, a man who was turned into a monster. The fun parts of Call of Duty rely on a lack of empathy, at least in the moment. An emphasis, Tyler, on the at least in the moment part, because remember, we can compartmentalize things. That's why we can have fun storming beaches and climbing up mountains and barging into towns and spraying down Nazis with SMGs or sniping from the top of windmills. And then we can have the next mission where we see a character we like die and we're like, oh, that's sad. If I truly felt the suffering of any Call of Duty character, I'd quit immediately. Wow, what a pussy. You're an adult, Tyler. Act like one. People can perceive empathy and show it in different ways. A lot of people, if they're able to connect with characters, either through their suffering or their anguish, it wants them to stay and experience that. And a lot of people, it makes them feel more alive. It makes them feel real. Obtaining genuine empathy from something, it turns a story that was otherwise distant into something tangible, something they can feel inside themselves. Call of Duty World War II devs and actors are talking about how it will expose the whole World War II story to a new generation. Have they heard of books? Have you heard of correct punctuation? But Tyler, let's be real here. This is a new generation. Kids, I'm certain that kids do read books. Books are not going away anytime soon, but it is 2017. Technology is where it's at. Phones and tablets and nooks, doodads, video games, the internet, Twitter, social media. These are huge influencing factors in the lives of young people. The huge. Every year, Call of Duty sells tens of millions of copies. And a huge amount of that is by young people. Look, Black Ops 3 sold 25.7 million units. Even Infinite Warfare sold half of that. And that game was lambasted by everybody. So Tyler, have you heard of video games? Because Call of Duty World War II is probably going to sell tens of millions of units. Do you think they'd be able to reach more young people selling an action video game with Call of Duty on the front, or selling a book? Don't think too hard. Yes, books still have a lasting appeal, absolutely. But to a new, younger generation, Call of Duty World War II will be their first real introduction to World War II. And it's really kind of shocking how this is something that's contested by people. Young people play video games, Tyler. Wait, what's this? For my birthday, I want you to treat capitalism as treason against humanity. Oh, so you're a crazy person. Wait a second. How insane are you, Tyler? Let's stop calling ourselves the PC master race? This isn't a plea for political correctness. Not associating oneself with Nazi pastiches is just good living. It's fun to treat our hobby like a club and build camaraderie, but I don't think a reference to white supremacy is going to encourage club membership. Holy fuck, Tyler! You're anti-capitalist, pro-socialist. You want words and phrases to stop being used because they might offend somebody. Tyler, are you a social justice warrior? Because I was getting some vibes from the article about World War II, but I think it's practically confirmed now. Smashing capitalism while dating a communications specialist who worked for Ubisoft while writing positive articles for their games. You show 'em, Tyler. Wait, isn't this why we had Gamergate? Oh, at tangled webs we weave, comrade. But that's enough about this first thing about Call of Duty and anti-war. Though I do have an interesting poll from Twitter that I conducted. I had it run for a couple days so I can get a big sample size. So here we go. Do you think that the Call of Duty series generally promotes an anti-war message? Only answer if you've played them, and please retweet. 3,427 votes, 11% yes, 36% no, 53% it does neither overall, which is what I would have answered. It has both the over-the-top, silly, romanticized action that video games have, and it also has the pensive, pull back down to reality moments that all of us can remember. I think most people probably play Call of Duty for the multiplayer, mostly, so I don't know if that had any say in people voting a certain way, but there you have it. Is Call of Duty anti-war? It depends on who you ask. It has a little bit of this, a little bit of that. At the end of the day, it is a Call of Duty video game, and it is what it is. But I'm not going to write off this World War II new Call of Duty game as something that's just dumb, stupid violence, and I'm not going to say that it's going to be the next Schindler's List either. It can be a bit of both. I think that these developers for Sledgehammer, I think they're probably being sincere, that they want to put this kind of anti-war message into Call of Duty games. I think that they really want to do that. I'm not going to conflate it by saying that the only reason they want to make this game is to prevent the next World War. But I think that as a popular media figure that Sledgehammer Games is, making an extremely popular video game series, I think they'll have a lot of sway with people who play it, especially with younger audiences. I guess we'll see, though. But the next thing that I wanted to talk about was... Wait, the next thing? How far are we in? Only half an hour. That's nothing. Polygon. Call of Duty World War II's diversity is nothing more than marketing. A supporting cast just checks off the boxes. Written by Allegra, sorry to everyone in the club who's not as cute as me, Frank. And Owen, what happened to my safe space to say what I feel about a subject? Good. Because the people I covered were threatened and harassed, but I'm the victim. Since American pop culture took control of World War II as a narrative, it's always been presented as a white man's war. From Sands of Iwo Jima to The Great Escape, The Thin Red Line to Saving Private Ryan, that's the perspective you get. Call of Duty World War II isn't going to change this, but it sure wants credit for trying. Oh man, imagine being such a racist, all you can think about is race all the time, whenever you see anything. What, a new game trailer for Call of Duty? It's a bunch of fucking white males. I bet they'll be in Europe too. I bet the Germans will be white even. Why can't they be progressive like DICE and make black Germans? Activision and Sledgehammer Games pulled the wrapper off their glamour franchise today, and despite the exclusively white and male makeup of those doing so on stage... Oh, wait. Oh, you're talking about the people actually giving the presentation. Oh my god, imagine being such a fucking racist piece of shit that you care about the gender and the skin color of the people presenting a video game. But Rags, didn't you just bitch about a black German? Well, honestly, I don't really care all that much. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. That's why I don't have any issues with the black Frenchmen. Because Algerians. And despite the exclusively white and male makeup of those pieces of shit on stage being all white and male, they want you to think this is a more inclusive tale of World War II. It may yet be. We won't know until November 3rd, which is why we wrote this article, taking a big ol' shit all over them already. But really, that's what they get for being all white and male. I mean, the nerve. For now, the tone-deaf manner in which this all-white production checked all... Wait, all-white production? I'm going to have some serious words with HR over hiring an Asian to be the art director. What do you think this is, a meritocracy? Oh god, there's a black guy. Development director for Sledgehammer Games, Dennis Adams. Well, now that's just not acceptable. This is a only white, only male company, Dennis. Joe, you two will have to leave. I'm sorry, but Polygon said so. Oh boy. So it's just like, he's like, you guys are journalists. Come on. It's fucking come on. And I could keep going on too. It doesn't stop there. Like Ashley with Optic. What? No, gamers don't like women. And it's what? Sledgehammer Games is sending her free shit? Ugh, aren't they the worst? Can't they see that she doesn't have a penis? Girls aren't allowed in video games. Alright, here we go. For now, the tone-deaf manner in which this all-white production checked all the diversity boxes, women, an African-American unit, and even a child, reduced everyone else to a bullet point on the back of a box. Yet another feature. We've got a private multiplayer beta. We've got zombies. We got black people. We've got women. We've got a Jew. I hope it's my favorite Jew, but I don't know. But what's so strange about this part of this Polygon article is that they are the ones who created this. They are the ones who cannot be satisfied. They are the ones who will never, ever, ever concede. You cannot make them happy. They are insatiable in their demands for you to surrender your creative freedom to their whims. For ages, feminists, social justice warriors, sites like Kotaku, Polygon, they advocate to have these characters in places where it doesn't make sense or where they're poorly developed. Doesn't matter as long as they're there. They have been advocating basically for token blacks, token women, token transgenders, token gays, and now they're getting exactly what they want, and it's not good enough. It reads like a marketer's checklist for suitable diversity, a roster of token characters that doesn't acknowledge their experiences more than it pats the publisher on the back. Sledgehammer staffers' repeated references to Brotherhood also speak clearly to the fact this game will be told from a very traditional perspective. I guess Polygon is taking issues with them saying Brotherhood because it leaves out all of the brothers who identify as sisters, I guess. I don't know. There aren't enough transgenders in this World War II game. Oh, you put one in? Well, it's just a token. If I don't see that woman's penis at least twice during the Siege of El Alamein, it doesn't count. From what we saw and heard about this game today, that tradition doesn't genuinely include brothers of other races, or brothers who don't I was joking! I swear to God, I did not read ahead. I just cropped this paragraph and put it in, and I read it now. Holy shit, I was joking that they would say there aren't enough transgenders in this World War II game. But we have crossed the line between what is real and what is parody. Oh, oh boy. Oh, man. Oh, Ian, I don't know how you do this every day. Oh, that tradition doesn't genuinely include brothers of other races or brothers who don't identify as male. Because I can imagine that. It's like, I'm pinned down by the Germans and I'm out of ammo. Here, pass me some ammo, bro. Like, did you just assume my gender? No ammo for you, mister. It's important to note that segregation was still very much enforced during the time period, including within the American military. And judging by the attention Sledgehammer is paying to period firearms and the sounds they make, Call of Duty 2 is all about preserving historical authenticity. Because remember, every facet of historical authenticity is the same. That leaves fighters of color. Don't say colored fighters. They're fighters of color. Fighters who are women in supporting roles. Yeah, because I play Call of Duty to be at home in a factory pumping out bullets. I'm not saying it wasn't useful. I'm saying it's not exactly what I sign up for when I buy a World War II game. Ugh. It's not even known if they are playable. Yeah, why can't you play as Rosie the Riveter? Playability is a special obligation of interactive entertainment in telling a story, an obligation that movies like The Guns of Navarone or The Longest Day don't face, even in hindsight 50 years later. But Polygon, I guess Polygon doesn't make games. I mean, I don't make games either, so, mea culpa if I'm wrong here. But if you're going to be historically accurate in every sense of the term, that means if you're going to have an African-American soldier, right, if you're going to have a black soldier, then you're going to have to explain why is he in a platoon of white guys. You're going to have to be completely historically accurate and say that, oh, maybe some of these guys said something racist to him. And now we've got to get into the racist aspect of it. Now we've got to get into all this stuff that happened back then that nobody approves of today and that we all understand is bad and we don't need to be preached to about. And it adds in this social justice angle that people don't want in video games, just they don't like it in comic books. It just gives them more stuff to do and more things to fuck up. And Call of Duty in 2017 does not need more things to fuck up. Stop telling people what they have to and what they can't put in their video games. God damn. Make your own if it's so god fucking important to you. Allegra, you and Owen make goddamn World War II game that doesn't have a single white male in it. And you tell us how that goes. Well, no, all the bad guys can be white men. Of course, that's fine. Ooh, I don't know how much longer of this bullshit Polygon garbage I can take before I both laugh and vomit at the same time and die horribly. Now, here we go. I think this bit sums up a lot of what can be said here. Sledgehammer Games' top studio brass, Glenn Schofield and Michael Condrey, talked up Call of Duty World War II's new features, improvements over previous iterations, and all other stuff Call of Duty fans want to know. You know, important shit because it's a video game. Then came, like an awkward Thanksgiving dinner conversation, the conspicuous and almost patronizing mentions of race and gender, again reflecting back to the white male perspective. Because in Europe, in World War II, most of the Americans were white male, most of the British were white male, most of the Germans were white and male. The European theater in World War II was almost exclusively white and male. Did minorities fight? Yeah, absolutely they did. But they were minorities. Most of the people were white and male, and there were reasons why there would be white males as the leads. Oh my god. Anyway, we also fold into a story of diverse and global characters, Condrey said, out of the cast of characters after talking about its largely American male cast. He proceeded to talk about a British male soldier. Because we here at Polygon believe that the experiences of all white males are the same. It's a monolith. All white males in World War II had the exact same experiences. They're all the same. If you're telling stories about a white male in Guadalcanal, it's the same as a white male as part of the resistance. The French resistance against the German occupation force. Same thing. They're both white males, same experience. I mean, yeah, he's white and male, but I mean, never mind the fact he's in an entirely different army and was part of entirely different battles. In different missions, different theaters of war. That doesn't matter. What matters is his appearance. What matters, the diversity that really counts, is his whiteness and his maleness. Not his actual experiences, not the diversity of his personality, not the diversity of his role in the military. No. What really matters is his white skin and his chromosomes. That's real diversity. Schofield followed this with a reference to the game's female lead, Rousseau, a powerful female leader of the French resistance, he said, as if reading from a cue card, because it's not like we didn't expect him to practice this, I guess? Powerful female, we get it. Because even when you're trying to say in this World War II game, we somehow made way for a powerful female leader, they're still going to mock you. Polygon is still going to mock you. They will never be happy, they will never be satisfied, no matter what you do, you did it wrong. I mean, in a World War II game, you kind of have to go out of your way a bit to get a strong female military leader. And even when you do that, no go. You get mocked by Polygon. And that was it. No other diverse and global characters were referenced. Instead, Schofield and Condrey were swapped out so that the game's true stars could be shuffled on stage for their scripted interviews, each one armed with buzzwords. 3 white actors, including B-lister Josh Duhamel, replaced the 2 white men who previously steered the conversation. Oh my god, Polygon is such fucking cancer, man. It's a problem. Like, these are white males. That's bad. It's bad that they're white males. The people doing the presentation, they're fucking white males. Fuck those guys. The actors who played these white males, they're white males too. Can you imagine the fucking nerve, pieces of shit? Why didn't they make way for a marginalized person of color who is also a woman who identifies as a beluga whale? Hey, Owen, how come you don't fire yourself and make way for a marginalized person of color to be a writer at Polygon? You fucking disgusting white male. Oh, and Allegra, Owen, you don't have to make fun of Josh Duhamel for being a supposed B-lister when you're a writer for Polygon. Maybe you should be pulling your punches here. Because in the hierarchy of content production, being an author for Polygon is about as low as you can get. I think Jonathan McIntosh is a rung above you. The article comes to a close. They've got highlighted footnotes. White men get the solemn treatment of Brotherhood. Everyone else, hey, we've got them too. That's absolute fucking insane cancer. coming from Polygon and their social oh my god. Let's go to the last paragraph and wrap this shit up, because I'm tired of all of this garbage. References to the experiences of persons of color and women in the Second World War are well and good. But when white men get the solemn treatment of Brotherhood, and black men and women get the hey, we've got them too marketing cadence, it all reeks of insincerity. Especially when not a single woman or person of color was presented on stage, which would have given some weight to the important roles they are said to play in Call of Duty World War II. Oh, man. Can you imagine being so obsessed with the skin color of other human beings, with the genitals of other human beings, that this is what you think about? A new Call of Duty trailer comes out, and this is what you can think about. This is what comes to mind. This is what occupies your thoughts. Ugh, it was just a bunch of white males presenting this one. Ugh, typical. I mean, yeah, out of one corner of my mouth, I'm going to say that feminism is about equal treatment, and then out of the other corner, I'm going to say, you know, if a woman was talking, it'd be better, by virtue of it being a woman. But doublethink, what's that? These people are real. These are actual people, and these are actual articles from actual websites. This shit is real. People actually think like this. This is the lens from which they view the world. These are the glasses through which they look and see the industry. When most of us heard about the next Call of Duty, we were wondering about, oh, I hope it's balanced. I hope the story's good. I hope the graphics are neat. I hope the effects are awesome. I hope it's long enough. I hope that the multiplayer is well done. I hope they get rid of the loot crate things they have. Most of us didn't give a single fucking thought to the race and the gender of the people in the game and presenting the game and making the game. I mean, they're mad that Activision didn't trot out a woman or a black guy or an Asian dude or a transgender whatever, instead of the famous actors that, you know, they paid in the game, names that we know, people that are good at PR, people who are in charge of the company, developers who are actually, they have their hands in the creative process, they're making the game. No, don't have them on stage. Get a woman. Get a minority. That's what's important. When I hear someone on stage presenting information about a video game, I don't give a shit who they are, where they're from, what do they have, a penis or a vagina, which of the two genders that they are. I don't care. I don't care. I want information about the game. I want a trailer. I want an idea. I want gameplay. I want them to tell me about a video game that I might buy. Oh well, I'm so much wrong think in my head. I'm so not woke. I am so not woke. Oh well, I guess all that said, if ever there was a job that I would perform horribly, it would be that of an opinion article writer for Polygon. Because I'm just not racist and sexist enough. Am I? Oh well, let's call it there. I've had enough. And I'm sorry it took a while to get this video out. I've been a busy doggo. I will have another video out shortly. I have a schedule cleared up. Next week's looking kind of strange for me, but we'll see. I would like to thank again all of my very, very generous Patreon contributors for helping me to get away from the 6 to 2 I used to do 5 days a week, help me go part-time with that, and get more time at home. There are still some strings attached with that move. I gotta clear it with HR, and that's gonna run through, and then there's the benefits, and then I changed from being a full-time to it's apparently I just thought you could tell them only give me 3 days off a week, and they just went, okay, $3 away. Apparently they need me, but I'm severing ties as we speak to that schedule. But again, thank you guys very, very, very much. These are turbulent days on YouTube. And to be able to rely on so many people who like to see my stuff and will support me, it is amazing. Like, it is an absolutely amazing thing to see. It's almost surreal, like I can't believe it when I go and look. You guys have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you soon. If you need to contact me, Twitter, my email, and Discord are probably the best ways to do that. Even if I don't reply, I do read pretty much every message sent my way. Ciao!